Today I'd like to answer a question that many of you ask me, and I'll do it in a very simple way, okay? And that is, David, how do you make so much money trading cryptocurrencies? In other words, David, how do you make it look so easy, right? When so many people make it out to be super difficult and all that, in the end, it's an industry that's much simpler than it seems. The only thing is that people like to make it complicated, overthink it. A lot of people think that the more strategies you use, the more complicated you make everything, the more effective you'll be, but that's really not the case. I rely on a very quick, very simple strategy, which basically, when it comes to technical analysis, is just about support and resistance levels and market cycles. In other words, I don't do anything beyond that. That is, I spot a support level, I go long, I spot a market cycle where we're at the bottom of the channel, and I go long. And then I use strategies across different time frames, right? Short term, medium term, and long. Short term would be intraday trading. Honestly, I don't usually do a lot of these kinds of trades. It's true that sometimes when our trader from Ohana Trading Club, which is our trading club, where we have a professional trader who is there every day giving classes, teaching, sharing his signals. Many times I use his signals and trade intraday with them, which are free. Everything is free. Ohana Trading Club VIP. And then also, many times I use the green bots from BitGet, which, as you know, are those free bots that are available to everyone on BitGet with artificial intelligence. For example, here on Bitcoin, this one here, this Bitcoin bot, has generated approximately a 4.4% daily return over the past week. That is an API, meaning an annual return of 1,611%. That's insane. So if you divide that by 365 days, you get a 4.4% daily return. It's a conservative strategy. Leverage of 5 times it works long, which is important in a bull market. You can start with as little as $25, which is the minimum investment, making it accessible to everyone. The recommended duration to use the bot is between 7 and 8 days. Not bad, just about a week. And right now, more than 2,700 people are using it. These kinds of bots do deliver every day, right? My ways of trading every day are with the signals from our trader, which you have in the Ohana Trading Club VIP, and with BitGet's green bots, which are free bots. All of this is free, I insist. Both joining the club and registering on BitGet with the link you have here and being able to use these types of bots. But besides that, I have my own strategies that are more medium or long term. The long term ones, as I like to say, are the ones that make you a fortune. And the medium term ones make you good money. They let you earn what would be a good salary, right, so to speak. The medium term ones would be called swing trading. These are trades that you might open today and close in 5 days a week, 3 weeks a month, more or less, right? The time frame usually falls there. It's a medium term approach. And then the long term strategies are those I've shown you here many times, where you open a position today and maybe close it in a year or in a little over a year. Here we have, for example, famous trades like the one we did some time ago in Bitcoin, where we opened the position in Bitcoin with $850. Here live, we tracked it for a year and 10 months. And in that time, we managed to reach the goal of multiplying by 100, turning $850 into $85,000. We multiplied our investment by 100 in a year and 10 months. We all saw it live here. We did it at the right time with a good strategy and by making the most of the opportunities and tools we have. And you saw how it really is possible. These are trades where you can truly make a fortune, because a trade of $850 that in a year generates $85,000 can give you enough to buy, say, a small flat or an apartment to add to your assets, rent it out or buy it, renovate it and sell it. And in the end, you have a sum of money that's juicy enough to start doing things, right? With this kind of strategy, it's more long term, but it does require patience. So as you can see, we have a bit of everything, right? We have short term options, bots, signals from our trader, which you can use every day and they help you make money every day. Medium-term trades or long-term trades like the one I just explained to you. But what do I use? How do I do it? What I do is I go to my BitGet account. Here I have a trade that I opened the other day to show you a bit about what I base my decisions on, right? I go to my BitGet account. I go to the futures section, USDT, futures with USDT, and I select the coin I want. In this case, it's Polkadot with USDT. What I do here is first I click on trade, and I choose between cross or isolated. I always use cross margin with my strategy, always cross, because with isolated, depending on the leverage, you can get liquidated very quickly. I use cross margin, and you'll see why in a moment. Cross margin means you can lose more than 100% of what you put into that trade. But you'll see the reasoning behind it in a moment. Here, you select the leverage. I normally use 10x leverage, but in this particular trade here, I'll explain in a moment why I use 20x leverage. Here you select market price, and here obviously you enter the amount you want to invest. Here, if you want, you can set a take profit or a stop loss, and here you would click to open a long position. We confirm, and now our trade will be running. In this case here, this open position, once you open a trade, it will appear like this. What does all this mean? I opened this trade with Polkadot just recently, a few days ago, using 20x leverage. Why did I use 20x leverage if I usually use 10x? It's very simple. Because Polkadot has been so beaten down, it hit new all-time lows. I believe it has a future. I think that when there's a season and let's say a revival, Polkadot is going to recover quite a bit, at least up to $12, which is something it already reached this year and also at the end of last year. So $12 is something quite attainable and easy to reach if there's a bullish run in altcoins. And in this case, I did a test here to show you all, where I put in $200, 200 USDT, and they charged me about $3 and some changing fees. And here we have the amount we invested, which in this case would be 196 USDT. We opened this trade at a price of $3.01, $3.10, sorry. We opened at $3.10 and used 20 times leverage. What are we hoping to do with this trade? We hope that Polkadot reaches $4.05. What will happen if it reaches $4.05? $4.05 is the price it had last month. In other words, we're not talking about anything crazy. You know, the price from last month, we're talking about multiplying our investment by 10. Those $200 we've invested would turn into $2,000. A trade that could last a few weeks or a few months, we don't know. It doesn't matter to us at all. Here, the total commission we've been charged so far for this trade is $6. In other words, $6 is all we've paid in commission. At the moment, we're up by 161%. That's over $300 in profit so far, meaning if the trade closed right now, we've already doubled our money and then some. In other words, we would have already made a 161% profit. We can see it right here. And really, this is a trade that, as we can see, is already profitable. That is, if I close it today, it's already profitable. We've more than doubled our money. But what I'm aiming for is a tenfold return at the very least, which is what we'd achieve if Polkadot reaches $4.50. But to be more realistic, we believe that if a new season starts, if there's a bullish momentum, it's very, very likely that Polkadot could reach $6. And that would mean a 20-fold increase. That's why this time I've leveraged 20 times, because the risk is very low. In other words, it's quite unlikely for it to drop much further, and reaching $4.50 for a 10-fold return or $6 for a 20-fold return is much more feasible. Here, our liquidation price would be $2.36. What does this mean? It means that if Polkadot drops to $2.36, we get liquidated and lose all our money. What money would we lose? We would lose the money we've used to open the position, plus what we have as collateral. That's where what I mentioned earlier comes in, this little button here to select cross instead of isolated. Why is that? Because if we use isolated instead of cross, we could only lose these $196, right? Or the $200 in total, which is what we've put in. That's the maximum we could lose. But for us to get liquidated using 20 times leverage, Polkadot would only have to drop by 5%. If Polkadot drops by 5%, we get liquidated. If we use 10 times leverage, if it drops by 10%, we get liquidated. However, why do we use cross? Because with cross, if it drops more than that 5% or 10%, if you're using 10 times leverage, what happens is the position takes money from the available balance in your account, which in this case, as we set up a $1,000 account, as you can see here, it takes money from that account balance and uses it to give you more protection, allowing the price to drop more than that 5 or 10%. In our case, we could afford a drop from $3.13, which is the price we opened at, down to $2.36 for Polkadot without getting liquidated. If instead of using 20 times leverage, we had used 10 times leverage, we could have tolerated a drop of up to 1.5%. In other words, for us to get liquidated, Polkadot would have to drop to $1.05, and then we would be liquidated, which is quite unlikely. This is a test trade at 20 times leverage that we opened the other day. But for example, if we look at trades we opened some time ago, these are trades from the challenge, which we opened about a year ago, maybe a little more than a year. In this trade here with Ripple, we leveraged 10 times. And what can we see here? That there is no liquidation price. Why is there no liquidation price? Because it's a low risk position. Why is it a low risk position? Because we're already very far from the opening price. What is the opening price of this trade? 46 cents. If we opened a 10 times leverage long in cross mode on XRP at 46 cents, what is the current price of XRP? At $2.29. How much did we invest in this trade? $295. How much have we earned so far in this trade? $11,683. That is practically a 3,960% profit. It's insane. We're talking about literally multiplying our investment by 40 with a single trade. Just one trade where we invested just over $200. With just over $200, we've managed to have, at this moment, if we close the trade, we would have more than $11,600 in profit. I want you to get a sense of where this is going, you know? You really don't need to make things so complicated when you do this kind of trade. You just need patience, a good strategy, and proper coverage. In other words, it's not like you say, damn, I have $1,000, I'm going to invest it all. No. So since you have $1,000, using a strategy like this, invest at most 20%. That's what we invest, 20%. The other 80% we use as coverage, or in case there's an opportunity to enter a bit lower and average down, but we don't touch it. We invest 20%, and that 20%, if you get in at a good price and with good leverage, you can really multiply it by a lot. As I've told you, we multiplied our investment by 100 in Bitcoin. It took us a year and 10 months, yes, but we multiplied it by 100, which is what matters. Who multiplies their investment, their capital, by 100 in a year and 10 months? Practically no one. That's why I say that the crypto world offers returns far superior to the traditional sector, but they don't last forever, and all of this won't always be available. I'm telling you, in this case, it's a bull market, and there are about 6 months left ahead. Then comes a crypto winter, and these strategies don't work. That's why you have to take advantage of the moment now. Here, for example, in the case of Cardano, what did we do? A 10x long in cross margin where we put in $986. And we can see here that we opened it at 30 cents. At this moment, it's at 58 cents, practically double. So what do we have? A 933% return so far, which would be $9,200. There's no risk of liquidation, so we're in a very good position. And on top of that, in the case of this trade, as Cardano was going up, we closed part of that position, because you can close part of the position, not all of it, when you see you have a lot of profit. And that will be this one here. These $2,786 you see there, that's profit already realized. In other words, it's a portion of profit that we've already taken. So in this trade, for example, not only have we recovered our investment, but we've also made a profit. And if we were to close now, we would make even more profit. But the same thing happens, meaning we haven't reached our targets yet. This is a trade where we don't expect to make a 10-fold or 20-fold return. We're expecting to make about a 50-fold return. A 40-fold or 50-fold return is what we're aiming for with this trade. With the XRP trade, at this moment there are $11,683 in unrealized profit. But in this trade, we've actually had almost $20,000 in profit, because XRP reached $3, don't forget, and we opened at 46 cents. It's at $2.29 right now. So just imagine what that means. In other words, literally with XRP, we've had on the table about a 70-fold return, roughly a 70 times increase. With XRP, it's true that we're hoping to reach the 100-fold mark. It's one of the specific trades where we expect to multiply our investment by 100. We really hope to turn those $295, $300 into $30,000. So far, this trade has been open for about a year, and if it takes us a year and a half to achieve it, we don't mind. But hey, our investment was $300 and we're going to cash out $30,000. So what if we have to invest a year and a half of our lives in this trade? The important thing is to make it profitable. But what I mean by this is that it's very simple to invest in this type of trade. In futures, it's not that complicated. All you need is a bit of knowledge, a bit of vision, strategy, risk management. And, well, if you have tools that can support you, as I mentioned, like the green trading bots to trade every day, our professional trader from Ohana Trading Club VIP, which you can join, see the signals, check the daily analysis, join the classes, learn, watch all the courses. Also, once a year, we hold an intensive camp where our trader is with you live 4 hours a day for 5 consecutive days, giving classes. We usually do this before Christmas, as a Christmas gift, but not right during Christmas because people are on vacation, right? We do it a little earlier so people can take advantage of it, also for free. All the services we offer here on this channel are free. We never charge you anything. The only thing you have to do to join Ohana Trading Club VIP, to use these kinds of bots, to use BitGet as a vehicle to carry out all your strategies and trades, is to join BitGet using the link we have down here in the description. It's also 100% free. And with that, you can start making your trades and earning money. As you've seen, we are patient. Day by day, our trading bots show much do our trading bots make for us. Well, look, on average, they've generated about 1% per day for us. Damn, that's awesome. 1% per day without doing anything. That's 30% a month, just by having the bots on autopilot, checking in from time to time, maybe once a week, just to see how things are going, or in case you want to exit one bot and enter another, using our signals from our trader. When you see a signal, you think, wow, this is a good time for me to use it. You use it. Then, if you know how to analyze the market a little, you can do swing trading operations, where you say, wow, I see that Bitcoin has hit a support level, or some other coin has hit a support. I'm going to go long and set it so that, I don't know, when it goes up 10%, it closes automatically. I use 10 times leverage, so a 10% gain in spot with 10 times leverage means doubling your money. You've also seen me do this many times here. Like when we took $10,000 and opened a long on Bitcoin at 90,000, at 95,000. Bitcoin went up 10% and we were there. What was our profit? We got back the 10,000 we invested and another 10,000 in profit. 100% profit. And all of this through trading. And no, we don't get desperate, nor are we spending all day frantically searching for opportunities. You keep watching, you keep analyzing. On one hand, you have the bots, on another, signals, and then your own strategies where you say, damn, this coin is in the dumps. Some of these altcoins, like we've seen with Polkadot, or I don't know, with Ethereum, which is also in the dumps, or with Cardano, where you say, damn, they're really down. I'm going to try to put in a long-term long and see what happens. You think, damn, now I can easily get a tenfold return, because if Polkadot is at $3 and I leverage 10 times, as soon as it reaches 6, I multiply my investment by 10. Or if I leverage 20 times, as soon as it hits $4.50, I multiply my investment by 10. That's where the real action and business are. Obviously, it's something that carries risk. You have the chance to lose money if you don't do it right, and that's why I always say, whenever you use a strategy, what strategy do I use? You've seen it. I invest a maximum of 20% of the available capital in each trade. 20%. The other 80% I keep as backup. I invest in good zones, and each trade has its own exit strategy. With this one, where you want to get a tenfold return, then when you reach that tenfold, you exit. With this other one, where you want a 20-fold return, when you reach that 20-fold, you exit. With this other one, that's going to be a 100-fold, but it takes more time. Well, you know it's going to take more time. Don't expect a 100-fold return in a month. Expect it in 6 months, a year, or however long it takes. But in the end, if you know how to do things right, the results will eventually come. And there's not much more to say, folks. Not much more to add with this, I think. That's it. We've got it. You've seen a bit of how to open futures trades, how you can leverage by 10, by 20, by however much you want, how we work with cross margin, what those kinds of automatic AI trading bots are like that can generate income for you, and where you have everything you need to learn in Ohana Trading Club VIP. You can join right here below in the description. It's very easy to join the club. If you want a bit more guidance, to learn a bit more and so on, it's very easy. You just register on Bitget using the link down below. Then you contact the email address also provided below in the description saying, hi, I'm Pepito from the Ohana Finanzas community. I just registered on Bitget. This is my Bitget referral code. This is so we can verify that you really registered using the link. Then our technical team says, okay, confirmed. They say, all right, the registration is correct. And they give you access, sending you access by email to the Ohana Trading Club VIP. You join for free and you're in, and you have access to absolutely everything. You have your Bitget account where you can trade and do all your activities. You have Ohana Trading Club VIP where you can get all the information you need to apply it. And with that, you can start little by little, day by day, trading every day with the bots on one hand and you with your own strategies on the other. On the other hand, you keep learning. On the other hand, you copy the signals to see how they work out for you. And little by little, folks, with this, I really say goodbye. I hope the video has been useful to you. If so, as always, I'd appreciate it if you give it a like, subscribe to the channel, follow me on social media like Instagram and Telegram, and above all, hit the YouTube bell, because otherwise you won't get notified. And it's also important that you're on Instagram and in the Telegram group, because if YouTube doesn't notify you, at least we'll let you know there. So that's all. A hug, much success, and see you next time.